Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. In today's episode, EP at pool doesn't like a taste of her own medicine. Entitled neighbor wants her kids in my garden. Update: entitled neighbor wants her kids in my garden. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. EP at pool doesn't like a taste of her own medicine. When my kids were preschoolers, we spent every summer morning at the pool. I had a bag full of toys that I took with us so that they could keep themselves amused. In about the July, a mom and her preschooler started coming to the pool. My kids were cool sharing their toys, since this kid had none with him, until after about 2 weeks, he started demanding my kids' special toys that they were playing with. The entitled mom looks up from her book and starts berating my children for being mean and not sharing. She tells them to give their toys to her son. I reached over and took her book. When she asked me what on earth I was doing, and told me to give it back to her, I responded with her own words. Why was she being so mean? She should share. She lost her mind. I just kept on responding that what is good for adults is good for kids. So if she believes my kids are not entitled to the private use of their own property and are mandated to share with others, then she believes the same goes for her. She couldn't have it both ways. I asked her to choose a way she wanted to live. She packed up in a huff and we never saw her again. Good answer. One of my big bugbears involves adults having one rule for themselves and another for kids. That was such a classic move. I loved it. When my grandson was about 4 to 5, he was sharing his toys with another child. He came to me to get a juice box. He is a repeater kid and often teaches you what he recently learned. While taking him to the kitchen, I told him it was nice of him to be sharing. He told me he doesn't have to share, but it is nice to share when you can. Then he quickly added something about how if he doesn't share with his friend, then when he is at his friend's house, friend won't want to share either. He ended with "it is more fun to share." The whole time he was saying this, I heard it in his mom's voice. I know that is where he got those words, and loved how he took them to heart. He is 10 now, and will often share, but not always. And he made his own rule after a kid in a park broke one of his toys. Now he doesn't share his best toys with kids he just met. And that is okay. You did good, mom, and your kids will remember the lesson you taught that mom, too. The whole concept of sharing is so ridiculous the way many teach it. What we should teach children instead is to patiently wait for the kid who had it first to be done, and then you get a turn. People need to learn how to delay the need for instant gratification. I give you gold for this, but, I'm cheap. Parenting done right. Sadly, it wasn't your own kids, but the EM that needed the parenting here. Entitled neighbor wants her kids in my garden. So glad to have found this subreddit, because I have a legit crazy neighbor with boundary issues. I, 29F, don't have any kids, but have my younger sister, 16, living with me for around 10 years, and we have a trampoline still in our back garden from when she was younger. Neighbor to the left of me has 4 kids and moved in a year ago. 2 weeks ago, Glasgow started getting really good weather, so the kids have been out playing constantly, not an issue. They asked if I could let the kids use the trampoline one day, so I was like sure, but only for a bit because I have friends coming over for some drinks. 7 p.m. comes, I ask them to go home because my 5 friends have shown up and we're going to be drinking. Cue the crying, they leave the garden upset, but hey, that's not my issue, they've been on it for 3 hours at this point. Their mom pops her head out her bedroom window and asks if they can stay in the garden longer. No. I'm not your babysitter. She's annoyed but drops it. Last week, I come home from some shopping and to my surprise, find all 4 of the kids in the garden, plus their younger cousin. Ask them to leave, tell them they can't just come into my garden without me there, and they didn't even ask. They refuse to leave, so I shout up at their mom and tell her to get them out the garden. She says, "Let them play for a bit, you don't even use it." Okay, but still, not your garden? Eventually we get into an argument, and they leave. She's pissed off and shouting, saying I'm being a Karen and I should let them in. I tell her not to ask again because the answer will be no. This happened again the day after, all 4 kids plus their cousin, waiting till I moved the car from the drive and heading straight into the garden. So I wake up this morning. I've since put a lock on the trampoline, just a small one on the mesh safety enclosure to stop them opening it up, 'cause I'm petty AF. Plus it's Saturday, I'm not working today, my day off, and I want a long lie. But no, neighbor decides that at 9 a.m. this morning, her kids are being fired straight out that house with breakfast bars and a bottle of water, and they head straight into the garden. So I can hear them from my window. I look out and tell them to leave. By the time I get downstairs, Mom has descended from her house and is trying to climb the fence between our gardens, shouting about how I used to let them use it and she's going to call the police for hitting her kids. Great, you do that. I'll be sure to show them the Ring camera footage, which coincidentally also has footage of your husband picking the lock open so your brats can use the trampoline. So long story short, entitled mother sent her kids into my garden repeatedly even after being told not to. Calls police on me for harassment and hitting her kids and ends up getting her own husband arrested for theft and housebreaking and criminal damage. Edit, some people have if I could sell neighbor the trampoline. She has a V-shaped garden and the smallest one on the street. The trampoline is 12 feet and wouldn't fit. Also gave her a bunch of my sister's old stuff when she first moved in, but have barely interacted with her since this. Edit 2, decided that it's not worth the hassle. 10 minutes ago, 9:50 p.m. here in the UK, I took a knife and slashed the part you jump on. Brother is coming on Tuesday to help me dismantle it, and we will take it to the local recycle center. Crazy entitled. Great ending to the story. But you're not petty at all. Your house, your garden, and trampoline. I think I would have either taken the trampoline away or spread something really nasty all over it. I would have gone and cut the trampoline middle out and left everything else. It still looks like a trampoline, but now the fun is gone. I am this kind of petty. My parents took our trampoline down as soon as we stopped using it, because neighbor kids wanted to use it. Problem is, if they got injured on it, insurance would find us liable. You definitely did the smart thing here. This one is coming down next week, asking my brother to come over for some help. Don't want to have another issue like this, so the sooner the better. Also, just the presence of a trampoline will skyrocket your homeowner's insurance. I don't understand the reasoning behind how dare you not let my children come over unsupervised to try to injure themselves on your property. How is this thinking so prevalent? It's a funny feeling when a Karen calls someone else a Karen, isn't it? Update, entitled neighbor wants her kids in my garden. Hey everyone, thought I'd give a quick update on what's happened since this incident. I had a few messages from people, so I figure some might be interested to know. Main point, I guess, is that the day after this happened, I spoke to the police about the charges and asked if they could let it go. There was a charge of theft too, because the dad had moved tools out of the way and threw them into his garden, but they got thrown back in, so I wasn't missing anything. They initially asked me if I wanted the oldest kid charged. She looks a lot younger, I assume 10, but she's actually 13, because she was the one who climbed the fence first, then went through my drive to open the gate and let the younger kids without climbing over. Since seeing the dad at the local shop, he just sort of apologized quickly and thanked me for letting it go. I think the realization that his daughter could have been arrested was a wake-up call. Haven't heard an explanation though. Maybe he wasn't thinking about how serious it would end up. The mom, on the other hand, absolute crazy woman. I had mentioned that she told police I had hit her kids, absolutely untrue, but she also decided to tell a couple of neighbors that I hit them. Had 2 people ask me about this. She also put some sort of barbed wire at the top of the fence to stop me climbing over. She's also chained her outdoor grill/barbecue and dismantled the swing set I gave her when she moved in, and I thought I was petty? On a maybe related note, I had a visit from the SSPCA about animal abuse even though I don't own any pets. They seem pretty annoyed about being called out for a prank, so I don't know what happens with that. Also been asked about my sister's involvement with the story. I just mentioned her at the beginning because I wanted to explain why I was 29 and had a trampoline in my back garden. She also wasn't home at the time because she has clubs on. By the time she got back it was all over. Overall though, haven't had any more issues from it. The trampoline is now gone, kids haven't really been out because it's been raining the past week. Rarely see the dad around as he works, and the mum spends her days in her own garden, being the most obnoxious Gleska schema you could imagine. Edit, forgot that Scots doesn't translate very well and a few people are confused by Gleska schema. Gleska and Ma are Scots for Glasgow and Mum. Schemes are areas across Scotland that have a reputation for lower standard of living, social housing and high rates of crime. Hopefully that clears it up. Well, that was nice of you to drop the charges. The mom is only bolting her belongings down and putting wire up at the top of the fence to make others think she was the victim. I wouldn't hesitate to show the video though to any neighbors that confronted me about the situation. Your reputation is important also. Don't let others mistake you taking the high road and your silence as you being guilty of something you aren't. I get the feeling she told the neighbors her husband got let out of jail because they realized he done nothing wrong, not because I asked them to. The two that asked me I showed the video to them, they were pretty shocked because she made it sound like I ran at her kids and hit them on the back of their heads. People will do anything to look like the victims. Crazy mom is just doubling down on her lies to make it look like you were the bad guy, when in reality you didn't want to become free childcare for your neighbor. I bet she wouldn't have hesitated to sue if one of her kids got hurt while on your property, too. Glad you were able to get rid of the trampoline. Hopefully crazy neighbor doesn't decide to pull anything else on you. Just keep documenting all of your interactions with her in case she tries to pull another stunt on you. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.